everyone. Welcome to today's Trojan Family Weekend webinar, Global Experiential Programs, hosted by USC Marshall School of Business. If you have any questions, you may submit them using the Q&A feature below, as we'll have a time to answer them towards the end of our discussion. So with that said, I will pass it off to Leonard, who is the Associate Director of Global Programs and Partnerships.
Thank you so much, Sujin. Good afternoon, everyone. As we are talking about global experience, we wonder, what's your international experience like when you were a college student? We bring up the screen of Menti.com. If you could go to Menti.com and put the code 8636738, and then we will share the screen in the Menti.com to see what we have question for you. While waiting, you kind of can think about your experience, right? As a college student, some of you might travel overseas as a student in kind of like a study abroad program, or you might leave overseas for like a semester or two, or you just might just travel for fun overseas. Myself, I actually study abroad in Sweden for my master's degree program. And my experience living in Sweden was a really good experience that is actually changed my life. And apart from that, I learned more English in Sweden, actually. And we kind of like want to know, as you as a parent, or if you are a student who join us, have you lived or traveled overseas before? Seems like we have few answers here. Oh, we have people who that live in abroad, and someone who did not but wish that they did, right? I would love to travel and go to abroad again too. Unfortunately, with this COVID-19 happen, we just can't do it yet. With this, seem that so many of you, right, have lived or traveled overseas before. Now let's turn back the clock. For those of you who travel, live abroad as a student, what was the experience like? And people who didn't travel before, Carla, you probably can imagine how would your global experience as a student would look like? Educational. I think it is, right? When you go to study abroad program, you learn so much, not only for academic side, but also from your experience meeting with people and from the food that you eat. Eye-opening, that's one of my things as well. It's really eye-opening, and it's, yes, it's life-changing. It's impact you, not just only the time that you're there, but also it's impact you the rest of your life. About your decision, how you see your life, it change your perspective of life. Yes, more than the word. I definitely see myself when I was a student and how it's changed my world totally. I learned so much about equity. I learned so much about how people can be so much different, but we have so much thing in common. And of course, adventures. You go in the place that you don't know before, then it's kind of like you take adventure, and of course you have fun. At the same time, it's amazing, right? As you described as eye-opening, adventures, exciting, educational, is life-changing. All these things, all this quality that you just described are what we have in mind when we decide our global experiential programs, especially for this year, right? This academic year. We have reimagined how we could recreate a meaningful, enjoyable international learning experience for our students without travel. You probably wonder how we can capture all this experience as you just described as exciting, educational, and all that. with that, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Anna Bath, the Director of Global Programs and Partnership, and she will introduce our faculty panel as well. And they will give you a preview of our 2021 Marshall Global Experiential Programs for our undergrad students.
Thank you very much, My first study abroad experience was actually to Japan many years ago, of course, and it was truly eye-opening for me. Now, let's just focus on what USC Marshall has in mind for our students this year. As many of you know, we were the first business school to require global experiential learning in the full-time MBA program, and that happened in 1997. We have been a leader in global business education for more than 20 years. And of course, we know this year is going to be very different for our global programs. But we think our commitment to globalizing the curriculum make us uniquely suited to offer virtual global experiences. To give you a sense of what such a program is like, please enjoy this video about Link, our program for first-year students.
USC Marshall is here to bring you the world from wherever you are through the Spring 2021 program, Learning About International Commerce, or LINK. Designed for freshman business majors, this program will be your opportunity to adopt digital business skills for the virtually globalized future, all while still engaging with the best parts of international exposures like culture, foods, and traditions. Connect with peers, faculty, and international business managers as you research, dissect, and reimagine the solutions to leading global questions. LINK provides an enhanced global mindset and prepares you for dynamic networking opportunities. Expand your capabilities to thrive in the business world by competing in a case competition that will highlight the top-ranked projects and award prizes to student teams. Want a uniquely collaborative global experience with access to leading business networks while developing skills to boost your resume? Check out USC Marshall's new virtual LINK course and be a part of the global digital revolution.
Joining me today are 4 global programs faculty. I have worked with these professors for many years, and all of them have extensive experience in global experiential learning programs here at Marshall. First, I would like to introduce Professor Siram Dasu. Professor Dasu is an expert in healthcare operations, global health, service operations, and supply chain management. He also serves as academic director for Marshall International Experiential Learning. He works closely with faculty to design and develop global programs for both undergraduate and graduate students. Over the past 2 decades, Professor Dasu has led numerous experiential learning trips to countries around the world. Next, I would like to introduce Professor Ty Callahan. Professor Ty Callahan is a finance scholar with interests that include the behavior of traders, market liquidity and volume, and mergers and acquisitions. Professor Callahan recently stepped down from his role as Vice Dean for undergraduate programs. During his time as Vice Dean, he oversaw a significant expansion of Marshall undergraduate programs. Professor Callahan has led several undergraduate global experiential learning trips to countries including Argentina, Chile, Finland, India, and Sweden. This year, he will be teaching the Learning About International Commerce, or LINK program. Joining us also is Professor Yolanta Aritz. Professor Aritz specializes in intercultural business communication, small group decision-making, leadership communication, and virtual teams. Professor Aritz has led several undergraduate global experiential programs to many countries, including Japan, Finland, Sweden, and Singapore. This year, she will be teaching the Transfer International Experience, or TIE class. Last but not least, Professor Carl Voigt. Professor Voigt is an expert in global strategy and international management. He currently serves as academic director for the International Business Education and Research, or IBER, MBA program. Professor Voigt has taught various undergraduate and graduate global experiential programs, including the Global Leadership Program, or GLP, Lean, Excel, and many more. This year, he will be teaching the GLP program. Welcome, professors.
Thank you.
I would like to start our conversation today by asking Professor Dasu the first question. Why do you think the global business education is more important than ever?
Hannah, thank you for the introduction. Well, there are several reasons why I think you need to have exposure to global business. The first one, I think, is sort of made obvious by COVID, that the world is very, very highly interconnected. It's just not value chains and health systems that are connected. World is somewhat flat in the sense that, new ideas and innovations can emerge anywhere. Mobile payments are dominant in Africa. I mean, they can spread globally. So ideas can start anywhere and they can spread anywhere. So it's not just business and science that is connected. Even art and culture is connected. If you think about K-pop and how TikTok is kind of taken over the world. So the connections are so compelling that you just cannot ignore them. The other major reason, I think, is that we seem to be at a point of inflection in terms of globalization. It's not clear whether what happened in the last 2-3 decades is going to continue. Businesses and governments are kind of revisiting this model. And so this is going to create lots of challenges and opportunities, which I think, emerging business leaders have to be, cognizant of. And, the other thing that's really interesting, and it sort of came up in your survey just now, is that despite these interconnectedness, the world thankfully is very different. It's very diverse. It's the way business is conducted, the social structures, how consumers consume products. It's still very different. It differs by country, it differs by region, and so we just have to understand what is happening and what's different about different parts of the world. And what is different is also interesting in the sense that by looking at things that are occurring in other countries, we actually learn more about ourselves. So it's not uncommon for us to assume that the way things are in the US is the only way things can be. And it's when you cross borders, you begin to see, hey, these are choices that some managers have made. And I think it sort of increases our awareness of what we need to learn. And I think the last reason is probably the most compelling reason for all of us who are in these programs, and that is traveling is just fun. Going out there opens up your mind, you learn, and every time you go out, you get enriched. So I think that's the reason why all of us here have spent huge amounts of our life traveling and being part of these global programs. So that's.
Thank you, Professor Dasu. That makes complete sense to me. Next, I actually would like to ask Professor Callahan. Our global programs have historically taken students to international locations to visit companies and cultural sites. What are we planning to do this year for our students?
Well, it's true. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than what we've done for years, which is get on a plane with, many students and re-experience through their eyes, new adventures, as well as learning so much about business. And so fortunately, we've been doing this for decades, and over the decades, we've really built a valuable network in all the places we go. And so we're leveraging that network this year, and we're bringing as many of those experiences into the classroom as we can. And so it's new for all of us. We've seen this in our regular classes, and it won't be any different with global programs, but it's really gotten our creative juices flowing, and we've really had to think of all kinds of fun experiences and how to do them. And fortunately, we're not alone in wanting to do this. Many of our corporate partners, as well as university partners, have kind of embraced working with us and coming up with great things to do. And so we're going to have virtual corporate visits. We're going to have panels of international business leaders. We're going to have hands-on projects with corporate sponsors. We're going to have students able to meet some of their peers in foreign countries, again, virtually. And we certainly look forward to the day we can do all this stuff in person again. But really, we're bringing as much of the experience into the classroom as we can. And, you know, with that, I think it's a real opportunity for students. I think we've all, you know, kind of heard the phrase that that COVID has, apart from, you know, thrusting upon us new challenges, it has also really acted to kind of accelerate some trends that were already existing. And really the trend toward doing more things virtually and leveraging technology and being able to simulate as much as possible face-to-face interactions in a virtual environment is really something that businesses were looking to do anyway. And we want to equip our students to excel in that kind of a framework as well as in the face-to-face framework. And so we're really looking at this as an opportunity to you know, push forward in that dimension as well.
Definitely. And since you mentioned hands-on project for our students in the upcoming program, we just want to give a sense of what a virtual program looks like. And so we have a short video from student team's virtual presentation this past summer. And this particular team was working on a project for the city of Rio in Brazil. Please enjoy.
The process is you would go onto Facebook or to a common shared portal and recommend a location, and then through a democratic process, users would be able to vote on which locations would be optimal for sync installation. And at that point, we would be able to find the data online and be able to move forward with the sync installing process, which would obviously be installation and construction of the sync itself. And I believe we have a more descriptive image for what that final product would look like later. And to the left, we have a hand washing brochure that we developed, which we would include next to the sink in order to help educate people on proper hand washing technique. One of the interesting challenges we had when coming up with this brochure is that a lot of people in the favela can't actually read, so we tried to make it as visual as possible in order to promote equality of accessibility for the sinks.
I was very impressed by the team's ability to adapt to what the project needed. Their focus on delivering hands-on deliverables, so we could use it right away for the short-term challenges, but at the same time keeping in mind that the project has a strong possibility, a strong power to change the culture of washing hands, change the culture of hygiene, bring awareness to the importance of access to water and sanitation in the favelas. So I think they did a very good job in balancing the deliverables with this long-term vision, and also in adapting to the project as we changed a little bit the plan along the way, and they were very happy and very effective in changing the course of the collaboration and delivering such a useful and such a good job.
So now I would like to switch gear and ask Professor Aritz, who is an expert in collaboration and virtual teams. Professor Aritz, why do you think it is important for our students to have these kind of skills in the future?
So thank you, Anna. I think what we saw was a wonderful introduction of how we can leverage technology. What happened with pandemic changed the workplace. We're reading that many companies are not going to be coming back the same way. Virtual interactions will become part of the norm, which was more of an exception in the past. And the conceptual model of our global programs presents a really unique opportunity to introduce and to capitalize on virtual intelligence. So in our previous global programs, we talked about emotional, cultural, global knowledge. It gives us an opportunity to bring in a completely different skill set that will propel the students, prepare them for internships. And the questions really are, how do we work together? How do we work across the borders now that we are not necessarily seeing each other face to face? What kind of channels do we use? How do we work across teams? How do we work across cultures? So virtual intelligence, cultural intelligence are really coming to the forefront. And Professor Ty Callaghan mentioned that we will be using live cases, which you saw the end result of the student team project. It gives us an opportunity to capitalize and develop those skills, build competence-based trust, relational-based trust, work with companies. And I think my student Sarah Sowens will speak a little bit to that earlier. So it's not anything that we haven't done before. The emphasis is different and the opportunities are different.
Definitely. Like as all of us, we have been working virtually for the past 7 months, and we just have to make it effective. And I agree with you completely that it's even more important for our students to be equipped with these skills. Thank you, Professor Aritz. Next, Professor Voigt, who has led countless trips with students in undergraduate and graduate programs. And I'm just wondering if you can share with us some stories of students who have leveraged their undergraduate international experiences.
Anna, thank you for allowing me to get excited one more time. I think I'm with Ty. It is so exciting when we get on planes. I've been on planes with Dasu to different parts of the world. So let's go to the first slide, please, Sandra. So what do you see here? Right? What we've got is on the right, we've got a pile of old denim clothes, and on the left, a bunch of textiles. And for most of us, we're sitting there looking at this, and I would say, okay, let's call the truck, send it to the landfill. Okay. But let me go to the next slide. This young man, Anirudh Kapoor, was on a trip with us. He took international trips with us. In fact, he was on a trip that we did. It was an XL trip to, this was before we had Link, to Thailand. What he did, he graduated, couldn't get a job, looked around for an idea. And he had seen waste textiles. He also learned that there was an industry in India that took waste product, waste cotton, chopped it up, and rethreaded it and made it into garments and blankets. And so when I learned about this, he called me and he said, Voigt, I need your help. I want to scale my business to $20 million. I said, what's your business? And he explained this. He was taking junk textile. And I said to him, I said, Anirudh, what's your revenue? I didn't ask him. I said, well, how are you doing? And he said, well, my revenue's $1 million this year. I said, I'm not interested in that. I said, what's your after costs? And he said, about 40%. He, at this point, was 8 months out of his undergraduate program. And I said, Anirudh, you're telling me you're at home in your parents' house and you're making $400,000. You're going to make $400,000 this year. And he just smiled. He's gone on to take his business in waste products into a multi-million-dollar global company. All right, let's flip to the next one. Okay, what do we see here? For most of you, you've probably driven past the coast and you've seen these pods out in the sea and you go, oh, fish farming. Let's flip to the next one. I want to introduce you to Omar Elfi. Omar, a long time ago, he went, we didn't have LinkedIn, but we had a cross-border trip to Mexico. And he was on a program with Professor Chen and I, and we'd taken the students to Tijuana and Ensenada. Well, Omar did the traditional ABCs of undergrad program here. He went into finance, and he went into investment banking. From there, he went back and got his MBA at Harvard. After he graduated from Harvard, he looked back and said, what should I do with my life? I don't want to go work for a company. I want my own company. And he began looking around and he found an opportunity. He wanted to do a sustainable business. So he found an opportunity in fish farming, and connecting all the dots, he ended up finding an opportunity to buy a business off Ensenada. The first and only time he'd ever been to Ensenada was on a USC Marshall trip. And so now he is co-CEO with another colleague of his from USC who own a fish farming business that sells Chilean striped bass into the US market. Okay, you can shut it down now, Sandra. I want to finish by saying, where do the dots come from? When do they find them? So Link is about having your kids, your children find dots, collect dots. And then at some point in their careers, they're going to connect them. And so I've given you two examples of young people who started here in programs like Link. Link is an opportunity to make that first step to finding dots that can be the beginning of amazing careers.
Thank you, Professor Boyd. I think our future panel, we should have some of our alumni who actually leverage their international experiences and share with our current students. It always fascinates me with all the stories of the students whose global programs actually impacted them for life and their career. So I would like to go back to Professor Callahan and ask one more question. Many top business schools actually have global experiential programs for their students. However, all of them offer the programs in the second year or after. Why does Marshall offer global experiential programs to our first year students?
Oh, there's so many reasons. It's more of a why not. As you know, we've heard from Professor Voigt in terms of starting to identify dots that could later be connected in interesting new ways, and from Professor Dasu in terms of the centrality of global perspective and global thinking across business in whatever scale it's operated. We really want to, give students the opportunity to be exposed to that as early as possible. And it's not just that early exposure, it's that it helps them make more informed, more personal choices later on about whether they want to leverage those early experiences and go further in their global experiences. It's a really engaging, meaningful way for early career exploration. For a lot of students, it's the first time they've maybe been in a manufacturing facility or a factory. It might be the first time they've been in a professional services firm and see what that work environment is like. First time they've maybe heard from a marketing manager about what kind of things they spend their day doing, what kind of challenges they face in their professional career. And so for all those reasons, we really want students to do it. The sooner the better. And then the last thing I'll say is that, business is inherently contextual. What I mean by that is business practices need to adapt to all kinds of external forces, the macroeconomic environment, the political environment, the regulatory environment, obviously the cultural setting, and so on. And really, there's no better way to kind of open students' eyes to that and help them start to develop their appreciation for that than through global experiences, because some of these contextual differences are so strong and so profound in the global setting that once students' eyes kind of get opened through that experience, then they can start to see that, oh, there's also differences between business practices on the East Coast versus the West Coast, or the entertainment industry versus the finance industry, and so on. And we want students to be attuned to those contextual differences and to be able to adapt their own business practices and appropriately. And so global programs is just a fantastic way to jumpstart that process as well.
Definitely. And I think so many students are taking advantage of that experience in their first year here at Marshall. And I really look forward to first year students this year to take advantage of our virtual global experience. It's not the year to skip the experience, because we bring the world to you, I would say. And so now that we heard from our faculty, I would like to hear from our students. We have two students joining us, one, two pre-recorded video. So we asked this particular student to share her experience through global programs, virtual program over the summer, and here's what she had to say.
Personally, the most important skill that I developed was confidence in my own abilities, because I had never consulted for a company, obviously, and I was unsure if I had enough professional skills or knowledge to help this company. However, throughout this experience, I really understood that everyone does and will always have something unique to offer. I would say be open to learn and be patient. Nothing is going to be the same as it is in the US when working in a different country. There will be different business customs, and it really does make a difference to understand these customs before working there so that you're not disrespectful in any way. You may even face language barriers or cultural challenges, and this is why it's so important to have this knowledge and be open to learning about it while also being patient. Patience is what helps maintain this collaborative relationship, not only with your team, but with the professionals you're working with as well. If anyone gets an opportunity like this, virtual or international, definitely take it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience. I learned so much about different cultures and so much in general, and I would not replace this with anything else. So thank you and fight on.
So next, I would like to introduce Sarah Sowens, class of 2021. Sarah participated in the LINK program to Scandinavia in 2018. Sarah, can you share with us your experience?
Yes, of course. I actually went to Sweden and Finland with Professor Reitz, which was such a wonderful experience. And I would also like to echo the ideas of connecting the dots and eye-opening experiences, because that's exactly what my LINK experience was. And to preface, I knew exactly what I wanted out of the class. I wanted to learn more about environmentally friendly and corporate social responsibility, which in Scandinavia are very beloved. So I was incredibly interested to learn about this. And I wish that at the time that I went on LINK, the class was as stressed as the travel aspect, because while the travel is of course so wonderful, the materials you learn in class completely change and enhance the actual in business and in the company experience that I would never have expected. And in hindsight, much of the LINK was actually spent in corporate offices listening to various executives explain their business. So I really do believe that can be done anywhere. But the most eye-opening experience was hearing all of these different companies, from a waste management company to an elevator company to Spotify, explain how they achieve an environmentally friendly and a socially responsible business strategy through completely different means, in ways that I didn't know were possible because they're perhaps not as stressed in an American or in a West Coast cultural business technique. And it was so eye-opening that I actually completely changed what I anticipated doing in business. And I we presented to companies. I had enough experience researching international companies and learning about international business relations that I was able to act as the international business liaison at the fashion design company I worked at, in addition to being a designer. And that has completely changed my perspective on business. And I'm so grateful to have been able to do that. And I'm actually now looking to continue my abroad and study in Denmark whenever the world becomes free enough to do so, because LINK really did opened my eyes, and I'm still learning things now that I hadn't anticipated learning. So thank you.
That's so great to hear, Sarah. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's so nice to hear directly from student who has gone through the experience and, you know, had the positive experience and it impact how they look in the future career and what they want to do after graduation. And so thank you so much. So now I think many of you are curious about what we have to offer in the spring 2021. So is going to share with us some information.
Thank you, Anna. After listening to our faculty panel and from our students about their experience like, I hope that you are excited about the programs that we have this coming year and want your student to enroll to the class. We are offering 2 courses for 2 distinct student populations. The first one is for first year admitted Marshall and Lowenthal students. We offer the learning about international commerce, or LINC, L-I-N-C, within the umbrella of BUAD 104. And the section, because we have 2 sections in that course, this particular program is the section 14501. Then we have the BUAD 206 course for Transfer International Experience, or TIE, T-I-E, which is offered to our students who transfer to Marshall or Lowenthal from another institution. Both courses are the spring semester course, and the class time is at 10 to 12 p.m. on Fridays. Apart from the LINC and the TIE program, we also have other international opportunities for our Marshall undergrad students. You can find more information from the undergrad international program website, which will be put in the link in the chat room. We see a couple of questions about the further international experience for students who are not on the first year or transfer student. You can check that website because we have several international opportunities for our students. Okay, now I think some of you might have more questions about the LINC and the TIE programs. I would like to pass the stage to Ms. Sujin, who will help us conduct our Q&A session.
All right, thank you. Thank you to everyone. Before we get started with our Q&A session, we'd love to hear where you're watching from, and you may also submit your questions using the Q&A feature down below. So our first question, we have several people asking specifically, what will global programs look like for this upcoming spring semester? Can you share a little bit more about expectations or programming that you have to offer?
Professor Callahan, would you like to take that question?
Hi, sure. Well, so as we mentioned before, we've been structuring programs that are virtually based, just based on the realities of the current situation. And so we're going to have programs that have most of the same elements that we would normally have in a live program. And the benefit actually is a couple. One is previously a lot of our trips happened during spring break. And so we would have about 8 weeks to prepare for our trips. And then we would have the intense kind of week in country. And so this year we will have semester-long programs, and we'll be able to integrate the learning with the kind of experiential virtual programs throughout the semester. And it's also then allowing us to incorporate more of the project orientation because we have more of the time for students to kind of engage meaningfully with that and to engage with the project sponsors and actually spend the time that's needed to develop a meaningful solution.
Thank you. This one was answered directly to the person, but I'll mention this here. Can freshmen who double major in business and another major participate in the global program?
Double major. Ty, do you know that answer?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so with double majors, it's always just a matter of, which classes they're prioritizing and what their ultimate time to degree is. Double majors have more units actually in their program, both in terms of fulfilling the majors, but also in order to receive the double degree. And so they often typically have as much kind of space in their curriculum as single majors do, because because they'll be fulfilling more units and often have as many free electives as any other student. And so the programs are definitely open to them. Our programs are by and large 2-unit programs, which makes it easier to fit into a schedule that might already have 4 4-unit classes as part of it. And so short answer is yes.
Thank you. Our next question is, how are the projects selected for this program? Is it student or program driven?
I would direct that question to Professor Dasu.
Well, the projects are going to be sourced based on some themes. Could be around social entrepreneurship, or it could be around mobility. So there are some broader concepts. And so we're going to get the companies that are giving us the questions, and then the students will be assigned to these projects. And the idea behind these projects is that they provide us a vehicle to understand not just the business, but also the business environment in different countries. And, sort of picking up on the benefit of being virtual is that previously when we traveled to a single country, all the projects would be based in a country, and then the analysis would be largely restricted to that country. But now, by virtue of being virtual, we're going to look at a region. So for example, projects will probably span all of LATAM. And the short answer is we will be sourcing the projects, and you will indicate your preferences, and based on those preferences, you'll get assigned to the projects.
Thank you. Can you elaborate more about how global internships will look like given the current circumstances?
This past summer, some of our internship programs were done virtually. So the video that we showed earlier actually was part of the virtual internship that a group of students did in Brazil. And it was pretty successful. And the students learned a lot and gained a lot of experience interacting with the host companies in foreign countries. So they learn about the culture, some of the language, and also all the business questions that they had to address.
Thank you. This was addressed during the presentation, and thank you for providing the undergraduate international website. We do have some people asking about, for the current sophomores students who could not attend the trips this year. Can you elaborate more about the programs that are being offered right now?
The program for sophomore?
Yes. And what is listed on the undergraduate program website or the undergraduate international website? I believe there's the Excel program and the international internships.
Yes. You already stated. Those are the programs because we are limited by ability to travel. So most of our programs in this academic year will be done virtually.
Let me jump in here for just a little bit of extra color commentary. Clearly, and let me echo what's just been said, clearly we don't know what the future is going to be like and when we will be able to travel. But one of the things that USC Marshall undergraduate program has particularly done is offer these Excel programs They offer them in spring break. They offer them in winter break. They offer them after graduation. And they go to different parts of the world. I've had the opportunity to do XL trips to Cuba, Peru, Thailand, Vietnam. I think there's some others that I'm forgetting, in addition to the ones that we've done with Link. So I would suggest that as a family, you sit down and you say to your kids, okay, let's keep this as something that you would like to do next year or the year after, when we know what the world is going to look like.
Yes. And also for the undergraduate students, there's international exchange program that USC Marshall partners with universities around the world, and as well as case competition. We participate in and host international case competition. So there are many international opportunities for our undergraduate students during their time at Marshall.
Thank you.
There's another elective that is being done jointly with Japan, which is, that also provides an opportunity for.
Yes, it's project-based. Yes.
Thank you. Another question is, what are some of the companies that Link works with, and does that list change year to year?
That's correct. The host companies changes year to year.
And what are some of the companies that Link works alongside with?
I'm sorry?
What are some of the companies that that the Link program works alongside with?
So Jen, maybe I can jump in. When we were able to travel, a lot of the companies were region specific. So in my case, Sarah spoke to working with the waste management company. We worked with Spotify. We worked with Rovio, Angry Birds company, some of the startups, educational tech startups in Finland. So it was regional. Our focus, as Dasu pointed out, is going to be LATAM this year, and the companies are going to be coming from that part, that area.
Thank you. Thank you. A few more questions here. What is the project based in Japan? What is that course called? And can sophomores enroll in this, or what students can access this course?
Knows the course number. It's for upper class, yes.
For the upperclassmen, we explained that the first one is for the Link program. That's for freshmen only. It's BUD 104. And then we have for the transfer student, which is 206. And as Professor Siram said, that we also have Buko 499, which we're probably going to open again for the upperclassmen. That one
in the spring.
In the spring semester. That one is project-based, that we work with the company in Japan and also work with university in Japan, that our student and the Japanese student working together on the project.
Thank you. In regards to global programs as a whole, are there certain requirements to participate in this program? Is it accessible to all freshmen? Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yes, the Link program is open to freshmen in the Marshall School in Leventhal.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see. So for upperclassmen students, one is asking if there's a chance for a senior to still sign up for the spring 2021 international internship. If not, are there any options available?
I would suggest reaching out to the international programs office within the undergraduate program, and through the link that we provided through the chat, there will be contact information for that office. They can assist the students with any questions that they may have in regards to internship.
Thank you. And in regards to internships, we have a parent asking about her daughter who's a freshman at Marshall. And she's asking for recommendations in regards to this coming summer. Would you recommend a local internship instead, or an in-person versus virtual? What are some general thoughts about internships, especially for those students who are hoping to participate in one this upcoming summer?
Maybe I would like to ask either Professor Callahan or Professor Boyd to chime in here in regards to internships.
You go first.
Well, we've been working, we started working even last spring as things started to shut down in terms of, facilitating international internships virtually. And some companies were able to do it and some weren't. But one thing I believe is that more companies are getting better at it. Just in terms of, many companies had a lot on their plates in spring semester, apart from just addressing however the epidemic was starting to impact their business, as well as perhaps transitioning, their whole workforce into a virtual environment. But now, what we're anticipating is, and what we're seeing is that more companies are now having the bandwidth and still as placing as high a priority as ever on talent acquisition and wanting to provide opportunities for students. And so we're working on that and figuring out what we can do. And we have also some kind of third-party partners that are kind of experts in this field. And so we've been in discussions with them throughout the fall, and we'll continue working on it. Obviously, everything keeps evolving. And so hard to kind of anticipate fully what things will look like. But I think we adapted well for last summer in providing, a fair number of opportunities. And we're kind of anticipating the same for this coming summer, just depending on how much virtual programs are what's mandated versus live experiences.
Carl.
I would only add to that there's no right answer to the question. We also need to keep some context here. They are freshmen. Remember, a year before this, they were in high school. I think that there's a sense that people have got to get that perfect internship in their first year, between their freshman and sophomore year. I think the opportunity for them to try something out is more important than trying to get the perfect internship. Doing something that they learn. And I think that these virtual internships provided our students with a scope of learning that was greater than being assigned to a particular company, where as a freshman, they were, unfortunately, in many cases, they're given rather meaningless tasks. In these virtual curated internships, the learning goals are well thought out in advance. Anyway, that's my comments.
Professor Aritz, do you have anything to add in terms of internship, virtual, or what to do?
I think that virtual opportunities, Carl is right, they provide a more solid, in-depth engagement than the face-to-face roles that often end up being unnoticed.
Thank you. In regards to internships and piggybacking off of that, for those freshmen who are looking for internships, what resources can they use to find different opportunities, internship opportunities?
We're going to have to ask Ty to answer one more question. He knows more about undergraduate programs.
Well, again, it's different depending on the situation. And so what I will say is, I think we've commented kind of on the virtual versus in person. In general, it's still true for freshmen that there aren't a lot of formal internship programs through corporations the way there are for sophomores and juniors. And so that does put a greater onus on the student, because many of the internships come through networking, different kinds of personal connections, and so on. And so, what I would recommend is that, in terms of career services and career development and looking for professional opportunities and kind of scaffolding them over a student's time at university, that it's never too early to go in and have that first meeting with career advisors. And they can, we've recently adopted a new platform which shares opportunities, not just nationally, but globally. And so there's way more opportunities via that platform than there used to be on, which was the more USC centric platform, if you will. And so basically I would point students into the direction of our career services and start to have those conversations. And again, different things are going to work for different students, but that's why the one-on-one meetings are really important.
We have time for one last question here. Anna, you mentioned that having these global programs online and in a virtual space is great because we can bring the world to our students. In addition to having more face time with people around the world, can you elaborate, or any of the panelists can elaborate, or even give examples of some of the benefits that have come with hosting these programs online?
Professor Dasu.
Yeah, I think it's really opens up a lot of opportunities. So, the good thing or the bad thing about COVID is, executives are now comfortable with the idea of jumping on a Zoom call and showing up in class. So I think what's happened in the last 1 year is our access to experts from around the world is much greater than it has ever been. So people are mostly working from home. They're very comfortable, spending 30 minutes, 1 hour with a student group. So I think one of the big advantages of this is, as Anna pointed out, you can really bring the work. It's people are available. So if you're doing a project in say Argentina, you can talk to experts in Brazil, you can talk to people in the US, you can talk to people in Madrid. So this is something, it's a combination of the virtual world, and it's a combination of how we as a university have adapted. So I think it's this, and it's just not classes and lectures. We can bring in virtual experiences. You can, visit factories virtually. You can talk to people in different parts of the world. I think this is something the virtual world opens up. And as I said, something that we have learned.
All right. I believe that is the end of our time today, and want to thank all of our panelists here, and for all of you who are watching today. Thank you so much for participating in this webinar. We have more information in our chat box where you can access different information about our global programs, but we thank you so much once again. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our university website as well. So thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day.